What is good stuff, family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the economic calendar thus far, what's going on with earnings that just came out, and what the charts are suggesting for the markets from Tesla, SPY, and many others. But before I break into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and offer ends very, very soon. It ends today, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening with Tesla. So Tesla has this very, very nice cup that is forming on the charts. There is potential for this thing to push even higher, but we might see the market kind of retrace a little bit, try to fill these gaps below first before we get that bounce. So we'll be watching to see how we end up opening. So be a little bit careful to see a little retracement at first before we see this bounce. Now, in order for this to play out, we have to see the market hold its support as we start to see this pan out. And we're also in a position where we're getting very close to this data release, and we're about to get the manufacturing production numbers. So we'll see how the market reacts to all of that. But let me just review the data for everyone that's about to come out. So right now, I think in about a minute, we actually have more data involving manufacturing. We just had initial jobless claims, and this was very close to what the expectations essentially were, which wasn't too bad at about 212,000, a little bit lower, but not too bad. On top of this, retail sales have dropped, which has caused yields to drop as well. And as a result, the market is still pushing as that has come out. Now, export prices, import prices were as expected, so all this data is quite decent overall. And now we're just going to be looking for the manufacturing numbers to be coming out in just about a minute. So, with the manufacturing numbers coming out and the industrial production numbers, this will be interesting to see the market's reaction to them. And so far, we're seeing Tesla still holding up, so not really a whole lot is going on with them. Later on, I just want to call out that at 11:30 a.m. we have the bill auctions coming out. The bill auctions are going to be very important for the 4-week and 8-week systems. That's going to be important. So we'll see how Tesla and the market reacts to those. And later we have Waller from the Fed giving a speech at 1:15 p.m. Otherwise, most of the data is out. So we'll have to see how it goes from there. But looking at how things are looking, Tesla's still holding up amidst the data release. So is SPY. And we'll see what happens moving forward. Now, when it comes to earnings, I just want to mention that we just had Crocs and John Deere today, but for tomorrow we have, not tomorrow, sorry, for after close, after the market closes today, we have DraftKings, Coinbase, and Roku. So make sure you watch these today after market close. How did Crocs and John Deere do? Crocs actually announced their earnings. They beat on EPS and revenue, which is quite good for them. But when you look at everything overall, they ended up doing very, very well. Despite what many expectations were, they actually exceeded expectations, and they had very strong forecasts, which is very, very good for them, especially when it comes to them beating Q4 earnings. So with strong forecasts, this is causing the share price to run. Very, very good for Crocs. They beat on EPS and revenue, and they had strong guidance. John Deere's basically is not doing as well because of the fact that, first off, it did fall short because of the fact that its outlook was not the strongest for the full year. The U.S. agriculture and construction industry is still showing some segments which are falling a bit, and it's still affecting this. So overall, I would say earnings were decent, but their outlook was not the strongest for the full year, and this is why the share price has sank the way it has. So it's just something that's worth noting. That's something we have to be watching for, at least for the time being. Now, when it comes to when it comes to other things affecting the markets, there's a lot of talk about AI, which is being used in the dating world. Not to mention how more than 1/3 of men these days are actually using GPT for surveys, for questions, and different chatbots. So it's actually very interesting. And there's a lot of talk about this, at least from cybersecurity experts, about how this could be kind of like exploited. So you want to be very careful when using tools like this, and also be very careful with how you use them. If I'm going to be clear with you, the Federal Trade Commission is examining the impact of drug wholesalers and companies that purchase medicines for healthcare providers, and the ones that are having a drug shortage, essentially. So I'll be looking out for that. Very important for pharmaceuticals out there. Cisco announced it's going to be cutting over 4,000 jobs, or 5% of its workforce. That's important, following another string of layoffs that have come out. And it's also important to note that their overall earnings were not the strongest in terms of guidance. The market is still pushing, but we're going to be watching to see how we react to some key resistance levels. Tesla's eyeing the Indian market as the government nears a policy shift on import duties. That is very important because you can see right here, establishing its presence in India would be very good for it, reducing import duties for EVs over which are priced over $36,000. This is very, very important, and possibly the last 2 to 3 years is set to replace the initial plan of bank guarantees. That's good for Tesla, if anything. And with these changes right here, Tesla's encouraging, or at least the Indian government is aspiring to encourage foreign automakers to start local manufacturing, boosting employment and reducing EV prices through domestic production. That's what they're trying to do. We're going to see if these policy changes happen. And if they do, that's going to be good news for Tesla and the other Indian economies. So that's good for them. Now let's talk about how the share price is looking. Looking at Tesla, I just want to call out that SPY has this gap down here. So I'm going to watch to see if we actually retrace just a bit to fill this gap before we try to bounce. But I still think that the uptrend is still imminent. As far as Tesla goes, it's holding up nicely thus far, but it is retracing just a little bit to fill this gap. So watch support at 189 and 188. That's where our 4-hour 20 EMA is, and also our 50 EMA. Those are two exact supports, which is kind of funny. So I think as far as Tesla goes, I'm going to be looking for a little retracement right here, at least about 189, if not 188, and we'll see if it holds. As long as it holds, it could still be forming kind of like a cup and handle, so it could come down here and then start to bounce and break out to 190 later on. And once this breaks, look for a bigger push to the higher levels, such as 192.5, and followed by 194 and 195. So I think we might see a little retracement here. We're going to be watching to see how well it holds. If we lose 190, watch it come down towards 188, kind of consolidate a bit, and start pushing up higher as we're forming a nice cup and handle. So that's what I'm seeing for this. Watch 188 as support, 187.5, 186, 184, and 182 as supports. The most important one to be watching for is this zone right here. If we can try to hold around 187.5 to 188, I might retrace just a little bit into the 189 area, if not 188, but then look for a bounce because it could be easily forming a nice handle here. Once we get the breakouts, this will be like a break of structure, and then we're going to be looking for a nice push up back towards this previous wick right here. So I think it'll drop a little bit and then try to bounce later on. I think that SPY is going to follow the same trend. If you look at SPY, I think SPY has the potential to essentially do the same thing. Going to be looking for a move back down. It's about 498.8. Might retrace just a little bit, even at 498. If we lose that though, 496 is a possibility, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to drop that much. I think it might retrace just a bit. Then we might look for a bounce after that. I think we're going to be pushing back up to 501. So the question for SPY is, are we about to break this high at 503.5? If we break 501, we could push up to 503, then 505. Or are we going to just kind of push a little bit and then get a big rejection, come back down? If we do get a rejection and we fail to break the high, this could be the start of a downtrend as we have this high here and a lower high being established before we continue to drop lower. But if we continue to break, if it breaks 501, watch resistance in 503 is a possibility. So I'll be watching for that. I think it might retrace a bit and try to break out. Watch 501 being tested because the share price is still bullish. And we'll see if it breaks this. If it breaks this, it could go even higher to 503. If not, we just have to see if we could break this for now. So I recommend just watching that and being kind of patient with it. For the QQQ, it's essentially the same thing. Watch the support right over here around 433. That's where we have this previous gap to fill. If we come down to that level, look for a bounce. I still think we could uptrend as we have a very, very nice trend being established. So I'll be watching this right over here just to see how well it could kind of like hold up. And if we do kind of retrace a bit to fill this gap, do we bounce off the support trend line and start pushing on a very, very nice uptrend? There's a very good chance it's going to continue to uptrend as the technicals look bullish on it. So watch 436 is resistance, 436.7, which is where we have this imbalance, followed by 438. I believe it's going to likely try to continue to uptrend, but it might retrace a little bit first before it tries to continue to bounce. So watch for that very carefully, guys. That's the trend we're seeing on the QQQ. And then with that being said, watch and see how it holds 433.25 and 432. Could retrace a bit, then bounce. So watch for that, and that's going to be very, very interesting. For Nvda, Nvda has a potential bullish trend that's being established, We're retracing a bit, so we're going to be watching this 734 area, and then we have 730 below that. Now this is forming kind of like a cup and handle like formation. Could retrace a bit, then bounce. So watch and see if we could try to break out. If we, excuse me, if we manage to break above 742 and 745, we could be looking for a big push into the 750s. But for now, watch this resistance up here. It might retrace a little bit more to 734, if not 730, but look for a bounce and watch and see how it reacts to this resistance. We still have to watch and see if we could break that, so it is still possible it pushes higher later on. For Aapl, we have support right over here at 182.5. We have resistance at 183. If we break this, watch 184.25 as resistance. If we break this, we're going to push higher towards this imbalance at 185. If we fail to break 184, we could just kind of shuffle in this range. Watch 182.5 as support. If we lose that, 181 is coming. We're kind of range bound right here between 182 and 184. So we'll see how it does. Could just go back and forth and back and forth. But we'll see which way we break. We just want to be very patient as time goes on from here. So that being said, thank you all so much for listening. We're likely going to be range bound on Aapl and see if we could break 184 to turn bullish. Otherwise, we're kind of stuck. We'll have to see how things go. So please be patient. Do what you have to do, guys. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Don't forget to watch for the market to retrace a bit, then bounce, and then watch resistance after that. All right, guys. I'll see you guys very soon. And peace out.